The Loopcircus takes you from Dawn-esque to Denison. Around the Twitterverse in 420. Loop Circus! Greetings from the middle of everywhere. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and this is your 420-ish Twitterverse update. Stay with us for this week's Once Heard Can't Be Unseen Loopcircus Peekaboo, where we ask how far we'll go to get a steak at the Golden Corral. In the global view, Vlad the Putinator finally made good on his threat to challenge Ukraine's current system of government through the use of overwhelming force. Early reports quoted him as responding to what he perceived as the decommunization of Ukraine. Later reports have him publicly declaring his wish to denazify Ukraine. Tanks are rolling, as well as the eyes of the entire Western world watching as Ukrainians literally battle Russian troops in the countryside and, as we speak, bearing down the capital of Kyiv. As a reminder, NATO is not obliged to defend Ukraine, not a member, and the prospect of any nuclear power engaging Russian forces directly has some waxing nostalgic for the 1970s and 80s when many had resigned themselves to the eventual all-out nuclear holocaust. So, a series of economic sanctions are imposed layer upon layer. Are we having fun yet? One positive thing has come from this, that we're getting an object lesson in courageous leadership from Ukraine's president, formerly a comedic actor, Volodymyr Zelensky. He was offered a CIA flight out of the country, and his response? I need ammunition, not a ride. We'll be watching this story very closely. In America the Beautiful, think that trucker convoy was a spontaneous expression of Canadian rage? Think again. According to a report on the Washington Post, wealthy enclaves from Beverly Hills to Austin to Florida's beach communities contributed millions to support the trucker convoys shutting down the Canadian capital. The richer the American community, the more likely residents were apt to donate. The biggest numbers backed up by residents of solid red districts. According to a review of more than 55,000 U.S.-based contributors through the Christian fundraising site Give, Send, Go, after GoFundMe stopped accepting donations for the cause. The story wouldn't have broke were it not for hackers who peeked at the zip codes associated with the donations. Data sets contained over 100,000 donations totaling 8.9 million, nearly half of that from U.S. zip codes. Recovering from the deep freeze home on the range where, according to the most recent Kansas Speaks survey taken every year by the Docking Institute of Public Affairs, found something most people already knew but didn't have proof. Namely, the proportion of states voting public favorable to the idea that cannabis legalization has more upsides than down. This sentiment trending ever upward, 63% in 2019, 67% in 2020, and 71% in 2021. Many see Colorado's success in raising state revenue through the sale of recreational cannabis and wonder what's taking Kansas lawmakers so long to take advantage of the windfall. What indeed? And here at the fort, a Main Street icon since 1967, the home of the Hayes Daily News, is now sold. Fort Hays State alum Dallas Hazelhorse plans to retool the building for STEM learning activities, as well as an office complex for his cybersecurity operation, Treetop Security. In an interview with the Hays Post, Hazelhorse said he was combing through the local history stored in the building, negatives from front page photos, paper copies from issues decades old, and not all of it survived, he said. Quote, we recycled a lot of paper, over 20 truckloads for starters, end quote. Hazelhorse says the STEM Learning Center is about 10 years in the making. Coding, programming, 3D printing, fast-track prototyping, a place to experiment, innovate, and bring about a new era. In sympathy for Uncle Joe, this has to be a tough week. After all, still reeling from the once-in-a-lifetime global pandemic and now what amounts to a new Cuban Missile Crisis. Uncle Joe is to hold the NATO alliance together in as much of a united front as possible to avert World War III. Of course, this can't happen. So, let's be pragmatic. Anyone paying attention has to understand Russia has legitimate security concerns. All you have to do is imagine the tables turned. Imagine the former Warsaw Alliance actively recruiting one of our neighbors to join them. Put in that light, you have to see where the Putinator's coming from. The best everyone can hope for is that Vlad gets Ukrainian assurance of never joining the NATO alliance, then returns his tanks, planes, and troops back to respective bases. Let Ukrainians and Russians sort out Vlad's historical claims with Ukraine's wish to remain independent. If it doesn't go Ukraine's way, so be it. After all, the alternative is unthinkable, right? And finally, essential workers at the Bensalem, Pennsylvania Golden Corral got a glimpse of how far folks might go to grab a steak in a place famous for stacking it high and slinging it cheap. The all-American feed bag, as it were. Anyway, a late January report on CBS Philly admitted they couldn't get to the bottom of the cause of the melee, but somebody got the massive brawl on their phone. 40 people involved. Accounts are vague, but some of the brawlers confessed to being motivated by a rumor the restaurant was about to run out of steak. One account has a family cutting in line and another family taking issue with the cut. One thing, another, brawl! The good news, nobody was seriously hurt. One customer was quoted as saying, "All I wanted was some steak." The simple pleasures. All right, that does it for today. Get more loopy fun from our website, loopcircus.com. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be well, good luck, and pay the love forward. This is Ronnie Hayes. Till next time, so long.